The glory of the youth, they say, is in their strength. But what happens when this strength starts to fail? And that's exactly why we bring in young persons out there who are, doing amazingly well. But of course, I've been through things. I've had moments, experiences that tested them, but that something kept them standing. And today we have an amazing person here who is, of course, going to be sharing her own experience as well. But before we move on to her, I remain your very proud host, Pocologist. And who do we have here?
Hi, my name is Ikeoluwa of Kels Regal. I'm an entrepreneur, content creator, and a mobile videographer.
Wow, beautiful. Okay, Ikeoluwa, it's nice to have you right here.
Thank you.
I believe you've had experiences, you've had moments, of course. You have things that has tested you, things that have gotten you, to that point where you feel like, okay, I think at this point I'm not doing anymore. At this point, I don't think I can go through. But somehow you managed to pull through that experience. And, would like to hear that experience from you. Would like to know whatever it is, as much as you're comfortable to share.
Okay, thank you for having me.
Yeah.
And to begin with, I would say none of these experiences motivated me to give up.
Okay.
Yeah, they just kind of shaped me somehow and, made me
That's
realize
something.
that it can never be easy. Nothing sustainable is built on comfort and, easy access. There's a sacrifice and there will definitely be downtime,
Yeah.
the good moments and all of that. So, I mean, they just shaped me, made me grow tougher, maybe. Yeah.
That's beautiful. So would you like to share one of those experiences or any of them?
Okay, definitely. I would love to. I think the one that is top of my mind right now is the major challenge I had in 2024.
Wow.
2024 was just, a lot was happening at the time.
2024.
So it was like a pressure, emotional pressure, financial pressure, academic pressure, business pressure, name it. Like everything just hit at once
Wow.
and everything came meeting me unprepared. You get so it felt like a lot was happening. I was just trying to navigate and find a balance through all of this. So yeah, that's pretty much the surface
So
level.
how exactly did you find that balance? I mean, at the point where everything came at the same time, everything
Mm,
came at once, hitting you, you had to deal with academics,
yeah.
you had to deal with business, you had
Hmm.
to probably deal with family, I
Yeah,
want to
yeah,
think, and many other things.
definitely.
So how exactly did you get to find that balance?
Okay. Um, I would say the pressure was, it started majorly because my expectations were not met.
Okay.
So it was just like, oh, this seemed like it's not working. This seemed like it's not working. But then I still have to show up.
Yeah.
So it was a case of I was on survival mode.
Okay.
Everything I was doing at the time was just out of due diligence because I am a very diligent person. I would show up regardless, even if it doesn't seem perfect, but I would show up regardless. But then I struggled to show up. I was still showing up, still exhausted, tired, anything you can call it. But the moment I tried finding a balance, or the moment I accepted I needed to find a balance, was when I knew I was exhausted. I just had to tell myself that you need a break. You have to take your time.
All right. So you had emotional stress, you had
Yeah.
mental stress, you had academic stress. There's something I'm trying to find here. You had all these things at the same time,
Mm-hmm.
and I believe it must have been very difficult
Yeah.
trying to course through them.
Yeah.
How exactly did you manage it? Because I think that at one point or another, people get to face these things, and many people do not manage to get back to being themselves or to get back to being a better version of themselves. Many people get to have these experiences, they have things that kind of tested them. But just like you said, instead of these things shaping them,
Mm-hmm.
it ends up demotivating them.
Yeah.
It ends up bringing them down. So how exactly did you manage to pull through such that this stress, these experiences did not exactly pull you down, but instead they projected you? So how exactly did you manage the situations?
Okay, so I would say for me, I consider what I am building
Okay.
as something I would need to sustain, not
Oh,
just to earn a living temporarily. So I see it like a house,
okay.
and you can never build a house in a day. In the process of building a house, you definitely undergo challenges. It can't come together in a day. Sometimes there might even be a pause on the construction for a long time. And most times when you seem not to have the resources, it might be more difficult. So, but then if you are so determined, you definitely try to find the
Yeah.
balance and get the bidding done
That's
in
right.
no time. So for me, I would say it wasn't easy managing it, to be honest. It
It would not
wasn't
have
easy
been easy.
managing it, but I just I I told myself the truth. That's the word, because I knew I was already off the grind. Like I was done. I was exhausted. Even physically was telling on me. So I know no better way than to just, talk to God. I just had to surrender. Like that face humbled me.
Wow.
It really humbled me. So I just had to surrender, and I'm a believer.
Wow.
I believe in God a lot. And so my parents brought me up that way, and I grew into the system, and I'm still growing in the system. So I just had to surrender. It felt like I had nobody. And even if I try to tell people, they don't
They
understand the
won't.
weight. Do you get? It just feels like I'm saying it on a surface level, but deep down, I knew how hard it was eating me up. Do you get? So I just had to surrender, and the only way I was able to manage it at the time, to be honest, was just talking to God about it and taking a break,
Talking to
which
God.
I was trying to avoid.
But you had
But
to do it.
yeah, but I came to realize that if I want to keep this thing going, it's okay to take a break,
Yeah.
even if it is for a long time. The major thing is not going with that break. I must come out
Come
of that
back
break.
after the
Yeah,
break.
I must come back, and I have to keep it moving like that. So in the long run, it is you first, not the business, not the
Not
brand.
anything else.
Yeah.
If you are not sorted, if you don't take care of you first, I mean, there's nobody to take care of those things. So there's a
Exactly.
need to prioritize
Yeah.
yourself. That's beautiful coming from Ikeoluwa. Okay, Ikeoluwa, top words from you, honestly.
you.
And I think there are some things that I could relate with.
Yeah.
A bunch of things actually, where you get to that point where everything is coming at once. And honestly, you don't even know which one to deal with first, because everything would appear to be like heavy, they would appear to be like things you should prioritize, and you just don't know how to find your way
Yeah.
through them. And talking about God, I was going to ask you before if you believed in God and the role God played in all these things, but of course I can't see how much things God did. I mean, in this whole journey, without God, maybe we would be talking about something else here. So it's safe to say that one thing you had differently, or one thing that differentiates you from maybe other people, was the fact that you knew to accept that things are not going all right, and that the only person who could help you was God.
Yes.
Okay, beautiful. Okay, so I would like to ask, were there signs, were there things that you noticed? Because I've gotten to realize that many people, when
Okay.
things are going wrong with them, many people fail to even have the chance to introspect, to
Okay.
even figure out that something is wrong somewhere. Or maybe they know things are probably not exactly, but they just can't figure it out. They just can't, maybe they just can't even pay attention to the fact that some things are not working.
Yeah.
And, little by little, they end up, going backwards. They were looking forward before, eyeing a target, but then eventually they realize much later on, that there are so many things that have happened that they should have actually dealt with,
Yeah.
but that they were not paying attention to. They were not paying attention to themselves, the fact that things were not going on okay with them, and the fact that maybe they needed a break, they needed to do something about this thing. I mean, so what were the signs that you noticed? What were the things that you saw? What were the things that you noticed that made you feel like, okay, I think something is wrong here?
I would say at that time it was a case of me, like myself, not what I was building, not my brand per se, not my business
Not
per
anything
se.
else.
So it was a case of the only system or the art of the brand is sick, something like that.
So everything else.
So if the human herself is sick, more like the brand is also sick,
sick,
because I couldn't
definitely.
function as much as I would love to. Although I was still showing up, but I knew that wasn't me. Like I can do more than that. So, but then I was just doing everything for, let me just keep it moving, keep it moving, keep it moving. But the moment or the period where I figured it was totally exhausting was when I was constantly irritated by too many things. I had too much emotional irritation. I was everything was just pissing me off. And what I do, I have to relate with people. I have to deal with people. But nobody would know I'm going through something. I can be maybe I'm probably
Mm-hmm.
crying and I'm replying a customer. Nobody is going to know. And I can't keep rubbing my emotion on them because they won't understand.
Mm-hmm.
And at that phase, I was at the edge. So even if you don't have to do too much to piss me off at that time. Do you get? And this at the time, so I was even trying to avoid my friends.
Wow.
So if I'm trying to avoid people that I'm familiar with,
Yeah.
how much more people that I don't even know do you get?
Yeah.
So I just had to take a break. Everything was pissing me off. Everything was irritating me. And I just knew, no, this is not me. I'm not a sadist and I'm not an angry bird. So, and at the time, it was like, that was my identity. I knew that was my identity. And then when I'm somewhere that I'm supposed to be bubbly, I'm just there like, what's happening here? Do you get? So
These are quite visible and obvious
yeah, it
signs.
became really
Honestly,
physical, and it was
people could
just,
notice.
yes,
But
people could
but those that
notice.
could notice, were they able to do anything about it?
Nobody knew the weight, so they tried. Even
But
my
not the
parents
weight.
tried.
I mean, I could see it. I could see it, or okay, not see, but I could hear it in your
Yeah.
voice. I could actually feel that weight. I can see that, okay, this thing it runs deep, like really deep, deeper than even the words we are sharing here. And I believe that for you to have managed to pull through like this, you're extraordinary. Like they would say, easy
Thanks to
things
God.
are for ordinary people. So when
Yeah.
things are difficult and it's meant for extraordinary people, and that was for you, and you managed to pull through. Beautiful. So what would you like to say to people out there? There are so many other people, I believe, who have also had experiences like this, or who are currently going through a mental, they have everything, dealing with them back to back, mental pressure or stress, emotional, academics,
Yeah.
business, family, everything is coming at once, and they can't just manage to find themselves. They end up, they are at the point where it feels like they are losing themselves to the blow of the stars. They just can't find themselves anymore. They don't even understand themselves, and they can't even identify themselves anymore. They are no longer the person they used to be. They are a shadow of themselves.
Yeah.
What would you like to say to them?
What I would say is, first of all, hand everything over to God. Like I said, I am a very, very strong believer in God and in His work. So just hand over everything to God, because I wish I had put that first. Not like I put it second, third, or fourth, but I wasn't consistent. I wasn't, so determined at the time compared to how I later handled that where in the heat of the moment. So I would say hand everything over to God. I believe we're living a purpose. I mean, on planets, God made us, so we are living a purpose for God. So that's like the foundation, that's the genesis for me. And moving forward, challenges will come. You can never build anything sustainable on a hard road. There will be rough time, there will be smooth moments, there will be the easy moments, there will be the severe, intense, toxic moments. But you just have to take your time, process the emotions bit by bit. If you need to take a break, take a break. Nobody's going to kill you for that, because in the long run, if you go to with everything going on, everybody will move on. So if you need to take a break, take a break. And you know trying to find a balance with academics, I would say you should figure that out early enough. Give your academic same priority you give to your business, you give to any career that is outside what you're studying in school. Early enough, emphasis on early enough, because if you don't do it early enough, it will be difficult trying to, you will just find yourself doing it just to pass, not to actually know, not to actually gain knowledge. So
Might end up having
yeah.
regret.
Yeah, so I think these are three things I would say to
That's
anybody.
beautiful. Honestly, those are top words.
Yeah.
And like it said in the Bible, I want to believe, the scripture says something about the fact that God will not allow you to be tested beyond that which you are able. So that thing you are going through, for as long as you are going through it and you believe, you do have a trust in God, then trust God enough to be able to handle the situation. However tough it may appear, currently. And that's where we're going to end it for today, guys. It's so beautiful to have Ikeoluwa here, and I believe we might be having her another time. But before then, make sure you just hold on to that thing which you need and leave the rest. Until the next time we would meet, Imali Atom.